Another day, another episode of the Hot Seat, proudly sponsored by MNL Next Generation Sports and partnered by Gemcon Consultants, your solution to construction and town planning. I'm very excited today to be joined by a special guest from the Zimbabwe Volleyball Association. My name is Thomas Mangwiro. Please allow me to welcome Kudzai Muzondo Makota to the program. Welcome, madam.
Thank you very much.
In the last two episodes, we focused on the Harare Volleyball Premier League and also the Zimbabwe Premier Volleyball League. And today, we want to talk mainly about women issues. That is why we have invited the ZVA committee member for gender minority, Kudzai. Kudzai,
Yeah.
you started as a player.
Yeah.
And now you are into administration.
Yeah.
Are there any similarities or differences from the time you were playing and now?
Yeah, obviously, very huge differences from the time I was playing and what's happening now. I remember when I was playing, we were very much concerned about resourcing. Simple things like where am I going to get my next pair of sneakers were key issues. Issues of transportation to training, am I going to make it? You know, trivial issues like that. But now, when we look at it, most volleyball players are more resourced to be participating in the sport, and that's a great achievement.
From the look of things and from your own observation, do you think many of the teams, especially in the Zimbabwe Premier Volleyball League, are doing enough for the players to resource the players?
Well, it varies across the teams, but I think the participation itself, the huge numbers of players per team, you know, you've got very strong benches with many players. That should tell you a lot about people's ability to be able to make it to play. Apart from the issues of transportation, the issues of sustenance, and also looking at support outside the sport, I think a lot is being done. Whether it's enough, that's another question, but there's been a great improvement from when we started out playing.
Looking at your profile, I saw that you played for UZ Wolves, you also played for Stars, you played for Support Unit,
Yeah.
you played for Panthers, and you are also a founding member for Panthers.
Yeah.
The level of play at that time and this time around, from your own observation, do you think it has improved or it is going down?
I'll obviously be biased to the times that I was playing, and I think we put a lot of heart and soul in the play because there were no other benefits outside just enjoying the game. All right. So in terms of the level of play, I think because it was really fueled by heart and soul, I think it was deeper. But in terms of technical skills across the spectrum for all the players, I think there's been a great improvement because we've got more women players displaying a high level of skill. So back then, we would have one or two teams dominating the league most of the times. But now you can't really put a coin on who is going to take it. So I think that there's been a great improvement in terms of skill. But in terms of heart and soul, I'll still revert back to the times when we started playing.
And now looking, it's taking comparison from the men's game and the women's game.
Yeah.
Do you think clubs are doing enough in investing in their coaches for the women as compared to the men?
Maybe I want that question to be a bit clearer. Are we talking about male coaches versus female coaches, or are we just talking about coaching staff for men's teams and coaching staff for women's teams?
Coaching staff, and also in terms of qualifications.
Okay. Kudos to administrators, both at provincial level and at national level. There's been a lot of investment in capacitating coaching staff. We've got more women with coaching qualifications, and we even have people going across borders to learn how to be better coaches, and with a lot of support. It's no longer just individual resourcing. funds are being put together from private entities, from the association itself, and we have having a lot of people increasing their knowledge when it comes to volleyball. So I think a lot of effort is being put in capacitating coaching staff.
But we are not seeing many of the women coaches on the bench. I can single out currently UZO's men and Black Mambas, maybe MSU Cobras, Diamonds. Where are the women?
Okay. So there are a lot of considerations when it comes to women participating, especially with the amount of dedication that is required for you to be a coach. Within the sport itself, I think a lot has been done to give women space to coach. But structurally, when we now look at society, there are more demands on women across the spectrum, across life itself. The issue of gender roles in the home also plays a very critical role. We need to be, I think, very fair with women, because when I'm coming for volleyball, there are lots of things I need to take care of before I can even be allowed to go and play volleyball. I've got the children, I've got domestic chores to take care of. So in terms of commitment to coaching, it can then be compromised. But to playing, it can be easier, because in one day I can excuse myself as a player and I won't be coming. But the level of commitment that is required and the amount of time that is required for one to take up a coaching position can actually leave women in a very difficult space, because it would require for you to leave a lot of other things in order for you to be able to be fully committed to coaching.
Yeah, also looking at your profile, I saw that you were once an assistant coach for support unit. Is that maybe the reason why you left coaching for administration?
Not really. I will be very honest to say that the administrative side of my volleyball was thrust upon me. I didn't want. The whole issue I was telling you about with regards to the issue of gender norms and the demands on women, becoming a mom, becoming a wife, bread and butter issues. You know, you in the home, you are questioned, then you're asked, what would you rather
Someone
have?
said players are like kids. So you said maybe now I'm a mom at home and adding the players again, so let me...
No, that was actually not it. Coaching for me is a passion. And when it comes to coaching, I'm more passionate about managing the mental side of players, helping players to get into a mental space where they can envision their playing career and map it out and set goals and even manage themselves even on the field of play. I think for me that's the coaching side I'm passionate about. Administratively, I can say that what I'm really concerned about is putting in place systems to just ensure that women are safer when they're playing volleyball, not just women, but women and children. And also looking at global trends. It's not just now a women and children issue. Even men are becoming victims of various types of violations. So for me, the administrative side of me is now concerned with making the sport safer for the athlete.
Well, viewers, that was Kudzai Muzondo Makota talking to us about the game. This was the first part of our episode. We are going out for a moment, and when we come back, we are going to continue with the discussion. Welcome back, viewers. This is the second part of our episode where we are talking to Kudzai Muzondo Makota about volleyball, and we talked about a lot of things in the first part. Now we want to talk about the gender policy, ZVA gender policy. Kudzi,
yes.
Is Zimbabwe Volleyball Association has a gender policy. Can you tell us briefly about the policy?
All right. The policy seeks to level the ground for both men and women. So a lot of times the misconception with gender policies across the divide is that it's just about women, women, women. But that's not true. Gender is both male and female.
Yes.
Okay, so the policy seeks out to introduce equity into the sport, meaning that both men and women should have equal access. And in the case that we find that one gender is already lagging behind in terms of access, more effort should be put to make sure that that gender also has the same amount of access as the other gender. So it could be both ways. In certain cases, you can have spaces where women are having more access than men. The
Yes.
policy addresses that issue where whoever is the minority then gets opportunities and access increased in order for them to participate on an equal footing. So the gender policy is coming in to level the ground. And at the moment, because we've had a lot of concerns about women's participation in sport, it might seem like it's a bit skewed towards women. But the policy in itself is there to support access for both genders so that we level the ground. So that's what this the policy seeks to do.
Since you came into office,
Yeah.
how far have you gone in the implementation of the policy, and which side is lagging or lagging behind?
All right. So one of the most critical issues had to do with technically capacitating women so that they can have access to more leadership roles
Yes.
within the volleyball fraternity. And I think a lot has been done in terms of leveling the ground when it comes to increasing qualifications. We've got more female referees. We've got more female coaches in terms of higher level qualifications. Even access to the positions itself has increased, where we have quota systems, especially for the national team, and always a push to make sure that if there is a woman qualified for the position, let them get first priority on merit, of course, but also creating a space where even if by merit they're a little lesser than the male counterparts, they get an opportunity to be mentored to become better. So I think that's the progress that has happened. The access has increased, opportunities for learning have increased also.
And also looking at the side of harassment,
Yeah.
have you had any issues of harassment being reported to the association from the leagues, especially?
Okay, so the outcry when it comes to issues of harassment has not been official. It's corridor reporting, grapevine reporting, where you have no one coming officially to say that I have been violated by so and so. So it makes it very difficult to then officially report that we've received harassment reports or harassment violations. But the truth is, on the ground, a lot of violations are happening. If we're to listen to the grapevine, if we're to listen to what's happening across the rumor mill, you definitely can pick out that this individual has been violated by that individual. But unless somebody comes forward and is willing to assert and report that I have been violated by such and such a person in such a way, it would be unfair for us to say that we've received any reports. But we do acknowledge that the violations is happening.
Are women aware? Is there awareness among the women about safeguarding issues, about harassment issues?
Okay. Awareness is very little. And it's not just with the volleyball sector. It's across our whole nation, really, where issues of harassment are known on a more bigger picture type, where you just know there's gender-based violence, where you know there's sexual violence. But in order for us to now then say that women really know, can they define what a violation is across the spectrum? Because it's not just rape, that's a violation. Harassment, verbal, there's verbal harassment, there's emotional harassment, all those types of abuses exist. But I think predominantly people know the what we call the bigger violations that are much easier to prove, like your rape.
Yes, yes.
But a lot of stuff is happening, and the awareness in terms of what it really is quite poor.
So what can be done to maybe improve in that aspect?
All right. So I'm not sure if it is okay for me to already preempt and say we have a draft protection from sexual exploitation and abuse policy that should be going before the board that we drafted. And this one it's a policy that seeks to also bring understanding of the issue of sexual exploitation and abuse that is rampant in sport. We also have, following that sexual exploitation and abuse policy, we will have a standard operating procedure that is going to help athletes, coaches, administrators to know how to manage violations if they are to come through in a scientific way that ensures that justice is served. And also partnering with provincial associations, especially the Harare Volleyball Association, we are now mainstreaming safeguarding into the trainings that happen. For the referee trainings that are happening, it's now mandatory that there's a safeguarding session where we unpack what a violation is, we unpack what safeguarding is, what our sport should look like, if it is safe for men, women, and children to participate.
Looking at the Zimbabwe Volleyball Association board,
Yeah.
are the board members conscious to women issues?
Very much so. They are very conscious. Just like everybody else in this country is conscious about women issues. But what we now need to establish is to what level are they conscious about women issues? Do they understand their role in advancing women issues? So I think that's where our questions should be. But in terms of knowing women issues, I think everybody does. But the issue is, do you know in your position with the role that you've been given, what is it that you should be doing to advance the position of women within the sport?
We talked about the board,
Yeah.
and also the clubs.
Yeah.
Are the club authorities also conscious to women issues? And there's this issue of safeguarding also cascaded down to the clubs.
Okay.
Do they know, or just the established clubs know that we have to, and know that we have to recruit players, go to a fixture, fulfill the fixture, and go back to home?
Yeah.
Because obviously we have got women players playing the game.
Yeah.
They are wives somewhere.
Yeah.
We have maybe times we go for training, times we report back at home, times we go for camps,
Yeah.
and some issues, there are issues about training, transport fees maybe clubs don't have,
Yeah.
and the women has to take money from home and
Yeah, we've done that.
domestic violence.
True.
Are the clubs educated about taking care of women issues?
All right. So like I highlighted, the women issue is an issue that everybody is conscious of. But I think very little has been done in the way of capacitating administrators to put in place systems to ensure that their clubs are safe with regards to these types of issues that you're talking about, the safeguarding issues. So with regards to technical knowledge and being able to put in place systems to make sure the club is a safe place for women to participate, I think we are lacking there. And it is not the fault of the clubs themselves. I think also as administrators, we need to take responsibility for the gap that has been there. But it now requires a community approach. There must be willingness on the part and initiative also on the part of the club to start looking into the safeguarding systems they can start putting in their clubs to ensure that they minimize any risks to women participating in the sport. So the issue is administrators, especially at all levels, national, provincial, and going down to club level, we now need to make conscious decisions to put systems in place to make sure that the sport is safe for women to participate.
Are we going to see at one time safeguarding issues being mandatory for clubs?
Definitely, that's where we're going. Discussions have been going around to make sure that we have safeguarding champions, that is safeguarding focal points. We have one at national level, myself. We're supposed to have provincial safeguarding champions. Those were already, the names were seconded. And what is left is for them to be capacitated, to know their roles, and the whole issue of safeguarding. So now it's also supposed to safeguard, to cascade down to provincial association levels, to cascade down to teams, to the clubs themselves, and to make sure that even with the institutions that we're operating with, they have an overall safeguarding person who is continuously being capacitated to keep an eye on those issues. So we're definitely going to see that coming into place once our PSEA policy is reviewed and adopted by the board. This is what will help then to operationalize that whole system. Without the policy, there is very little that can be done.
Well, viewers, this was the second part of our program. This is a program, The Hot Seat, brought to you by MNL, Next Generation Sports, partnered by GEMCON Consultants. We are going away for a few minutes, and let's meet in the third and final segment of this episode. My name is Thomas Mangwiro. Welcome back, viewers. This is the third and final segment of this program, The Hot Seat, brought to you by MNL, Next Generation Sports, and partnered by GEMCON Consultancy, your solution to town planning and construction. Today we are talking to Kudzai Muzondo Makota, the Zimbabwe Volleyball Association Gender Minority Committee member. My name is Thomas Mangwiro. Kudzi.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the players.
Yeah.
The women players.
Yeah.
We talked about gender parity.
Yeah.
We don't want to see marginalization of the other gender.
Yeah.
Is there a standard contract for players playing the game of volleyball?
I think now it depends on clubs. In terms of capacitation on the issue of contracts, I think a lot has been done. I've seen Harare Volleyball Association running webinars on the issues of contracts and capacitating players to know that they have a right to have a contract when they're with a club. But I think now it's happening from club to club, depending on their own discretion. But ideally, every player must have a contract in order for them to be part of a club.
Have you left it to the teams to see that their players do have contracts or don't have?
No, it should definitely not be left to teams. It's a systems issue. From association level, the governance policies should dictate that every player must have a contract. But if you look at our sport, everything is progressive. And we have levels of progression in terms of the implementation of a lot of these policies, a lot of the protocols that we want to see being put in place. So I think it's something that is being done, but not to the fullest extent.
Why I talked about a standard contract? Because in some cases a contract can be there whereby it goes to the club.
Yeah.
It doesn't give much to the player, but the player is giving services to the club, but the player not getting much. So I thought maybe you would have a watchdog, especially for the women.
Okay.
I know for sure that in many clubs, men are earning more than what the women are getting.
Yeah.
Usually to teams or to clubs, women's teams are coming as an afterthought or something just to add to what they already have. They don't give much to the women team.
Yeah. No, you're very right about that. And I think it boils down to the whole gender policy we were talking about and operationalizing it. If we're looking for a watchdog for that issue, that gender policy should be part of the watchdog, because there's actually a bigger frame when it comes to the legal side of playing volleyball. So I think operationalization of the gender policy to make sure that we're advocating for women to be at equal footing with men with regards to remuneration, with regards even to issues of travel and participation on higher levels of play. I think all those issues, once we've operationalized our gender policy, those are things we should be advocating for. But as long as we are not raising awareness on the policy, as long as people do not fully appreciate and understand what the policy entails, it might be very difficult for even clubs to put in place systems to ensure that those things are happening. So I think the duty still comes back to us as administrators to make sure that knowledge is increased and to make sure that we're operationalizing every policy that brings men and women to an equal footing. So it's not just the fault on the part of the clubs. I think equal responsibility should go both to club administrators and even national administrators.
Because I was looking at a situation where you talked about the gender roles.
Yeah.
A woman taking time at employment.
Yeah.
Monday to Friday, and she has a game at 8:30 on a Saturday, maybe 2 games,
yeah,
and another game on a Sunday, giving away her gender roles at home.
Yeah.
Do you think they are being adequately remunerated when they go to give their service to the clubs after giving away the other roles at home, leaving their children and maybe their husbands for those who have?
So I think that view or the question is framed from a perspective where we're looking at women as a homogeneous entity. We have women who are participating in our sport who are coming from very diverse backgrounds. So when we start addressing these issues, they should not be addressed from one perspective, but through a participatory approach. We must speak to all the women and find out what works for us as a community. When we now, I think that then helps us to zero down to provincial level. We're probably even at the Harare Volleyball Association, MEVA, Bulawayo Volleyball Association can then now engage its own community to find out what works for this particular set of women. Because if you look at certain associations, their women's teams may be constituted mainly of institutional teams. That is women and girls in school, women and girls in our national forces, exactly. So in terms of their obligations or their commitment to participating, 8:30 might not even be a problem. And then you go to other associations where the bulk of the team are mothers like me, and their participation really can be hindered by the domestic chores. So at the end of the day, the mantra should be, nothing for me without me. Let's talk about it. Let's find out what this particular set of women want rather than to blanket. The policies are there to give us an idea of where we need to be. How we get there, we frame it together with a particular subset of women. So that's my position on that.
Okay, and also let's talk about the issue of sanitation at the games venues.
Yeah.
Are the associations of the league management doing enough for women sanitary situation?
I think there's still a lot to be desired when it comes to that. Those are the minute details that we are not even thinking about at the moment because people are still looking at even the bigger issues. You're talking about what time should the game start to accommodate all women. We're still there.
Yes.
And then next we then move to, are there sanitary facilities? So I think we prioritize the issues that we're focusing on, not by desire, but naturally with what's happening. Right now the fight with a lot of women is just being able to play. So now asking, do we have sanitary facilities? Are the toilets adequate enough? Is there privacy? Is it a safe space? Those are issues that we can then start talking about once we deliberately create a platform where we start looking into all the issues affecting women. But as long as we are not yet creating that platform, which we are supposed to do, and like I highlighted, the plans are in place to make sure that we put the policy into operation, and we start creating platforms for women to meet and speak about issues like you're highlighting.
There's also another thorny issue.
Yeah.
We talked about contracts earlier on.
Yeah.
And if the contract is giving enough or it's giving fairly to the player, there's issue of maternity. Most of the clubs, they have a earn as you play policy.
Okay.
Are you advocating for compensation to women who go for maternity?
All right. So the issue of maternity should be informed from many spheres. We need to make sure that even as clubs, in terms of our policies around such issues, they should be informed not just by internal governance systems. It should be informed by national systems. It should be informed by regional systems, international best practice. What is happening out there? That's what we need to make sure that the scope of our policies is covering. So obviously I will advocate, because we've made so many inroads into making sure that maternity issues are observed and across the national divide. Even you have employers now adopting. There were ratifications. I think, I'm not a legal person, but I definitely know, being a woman and having gone through maternity, that immediately after my maternity leave, I now have the leeway to go into another maternity leave with pay. So if we're having such inroads and such progress at national level, it only follows that our clubs, our sport, should be following suit. So obviously we will advocate for that.
Yeah, definitely. Kudzai, we have got a lot to talk about the game and the women. Any last words about the game and women?
All right, last words. Not necessarily last words, because I'm still in the volleyball fraternity. But I really want to encourage women to participate, and to also make sure that their sport brings in their families. We want to make sure that we grow volleyball. Right now, we have a lot of silos in terms of participation, where you only have a woman coming to play, the rest of the family stays behind, the spouse stays behind, and I think that's also hindering the growth of our sport. So let's make this a family issue. Bring people in, use sport for development. We make sure that we are using sport to heal any traumas that people are going through. This is now for administrators. We are using our sport also to enhance the careers of our young people that are coming through. So my last words would be, let's use volleyball for development, especially the development of young people and the development of women.
Well, viewers, that was Kudzai Muzondo Makota talking to us about the game of volleyball and women. We'll definitely invite her back to this program in the coming weeks. But this leaves me to thank her for gracing this show. Thank you, Kudzai, for gracing this show. And my name is Thomas Mangwiro, and this is the program, The Hot Seat, brought to you by MNL Next Generation Sports, and also Gemcon Consultancy, your solution to town planning and construction. Thank you for watching, and all the women out there, give us feedback on the women's issues and what you want to see the Zimbabwe Premier League, or the Zimbabwe Volleyball Association improving. And this was Kudzai Muzondo Makota talking to you, a former national team player, captain, also a player, and now an administrator in the Zimbabwe Volleyball Association. I am out.